Okay, this episode is about prepping for your campfires. You want to be thinking ahead of time. You want to be prepping. And campfires is where I cook half of my meals. Probably half the week I cook over a campfire. So all I'm thinking about every day is how to start that fire. So I'm stockpiling, basically prepping for for cooking my food. Now, the common things you should be really stocked up on, obviously, I'm going to show you the one match campfire. It just takes one match. If you prep your campfire properly, and I'll give you a few pointers there too, because it is, you got to set the fire up properly. The wood and everything else. One of these is less than $2, and that's 250 matches. Okay, so that's 250 fires you can start with. And there's your striker on the side, the wooden matches, for less than $2. That's 250 matches. Okay, whenever you see freebie newspapers, because I'm only doing this, I only have one hand, I'm not going to start it with one of these. I'm going to just light one little section of newspaper under there. It will simulate the use of this wooden match, because I can't do that while I'm holding the phone. Okay, you should always be stocking up on your newspapers, because that's a type of wood also. Newspaper is basically made out of wood pulp. It's a byproduct of wood, trees. So there's loads of freebie newspapers out there, or if you're buying newspapers, keep stocking up on those. It's called prepping. Okay. The campfire, I've been stocking up on it. I've got probably a half a cord of wood stockpiled, because I got the permit in New Mexico for only $20, and you can cut up to 20 cords of wood in pre-designated areas out in the national forests. It's done by the Forest Service. So I've stockpiled on that a month or two back. So I got plenty of the bigger stuff, and I forgot to mention in my I did a recent video about knives. I forgot to mention one of the important knives is a machete. I forgot to show my machete. You should always have one. That's for cutting down all your low-lying branches and other stuff, cutting things back, especially because I'm out in the desert and there's rattlesnakes out here. So you want to be able to see where you're walking and stuff. So I cut back with the machete all my bushes, everything here, behind the RV where I walk, back here. I cut all this back with the machete. Cut that bush back also. So if I'm walking through there, rattlesnakes like to be like coiled up. Sometimes they'll coil up at the underbase of these bushes. So your machete is definitely something you want. I forgot to mention that in my chainsaw, in that recent video I did on knives. Chainsaw is all important. I mean, there's so many reasons why you want a chainsaw. I mean, there could be a tree just comes down, crosses the road. You're out in the middle of nowhere. You got two options. You got to either use an electric winch, which I have in my Jeep, to try to pull that tree out of the road so you can get through, or pull out your chainsaw. The other thing I stockpiled up on over the last month is kindling, to get the fire started. So there was people throwing out some wooden crates. This stuff is just great. It's the best kindling you can get, because it's all dried out and everything. And then I just brought it back, the wooden crates, and I have a jigsaw that I run off of my gas generator there, and put it in the vise if I need to, or whatever, and just cut it up into reasonable sized pieces, And then when I'm ready to make the fire, bring that over to the fireplace that I made and use the hatchet and break it up even smaller. So basically, you just want to start at the base with your paper, newspaper. Then you're going to go to a little bit larger, your kindling pieces in there. And then you're going to put your bigger stuff above that. And that's going to take care of itself because it's dry wood and you're prepping it from very small tinder to bigger kindling to bigger firewood. Okay, so I'm just going to do one match light here. Okay, that's it. Now let's just see how this works out. If you prepped it properly, oh, okay, yeah, it's going. If you prep everything properly, you gotta make spaces in between the wood so it can breathe properly. And you want to lean your wood up against something so it doesn't all collapse down and suffocate your fire. That's another thing I forgot to mention. So make sure you're leaning your wood up against something so when it starts to light up, it doesn't, drop down and suffocate your fire. Okay. So there's those kinds of things. It's prepping. A lot of people aren't talking about prepping for cooking their food. I mean, things get bad. You run out of propane. You run out of fuel, heat. On your stove. You're going to have to go back to primitive methods. Basically campfires. Now I could start this campfire with a fire starter. I recommend buying fire starters. Okay. There's different types of ferro rods and such, and they're really cheap, and that's how you can start a campfire. Now if you don't have newspaper, you have to go out and find really tiny stuff, like just looking down here on the ground, I can find some really small stuff. You want to start with your fire starter, stuff like that, and even finer. There's different types of plants, and literally one match, and I've got to step back. It's getting so hot. This fire is going really good. So anyway, I'm cooking up some barbecue kibasi over the fire. After that's all burned down, I'm going to put my grill on top. So this is going to take about an hour. So you got to spend some time if you're going to do this. But this really good stuff. And put some barbecue sauce on it. Man, is it good. So anyway. I think that's about it. It's just about prepping. I've done videos about campfires and stuff and cooking, but a lot of people aren't preparing ahead of time. You have to prepare. I'm prepared for the whole winter. I'm out in the desert here. It's in December, a few days before Christmas. Beautiful weather out here in the Sonoran Desert. 77 degrees today. It was sunny. Just a great place to be in the wintertime where everyone else is going through blizzards and super cold weather. I come down to southern Arizona, southern California area, Sonoran Desert area, and it just turns into just the perfect camping weather. So, because, basically I'm out camping, boondock camping. Anyway, that's burning beautifully because I set up everything so I won't have to touch this at all. It's just going to be self-contained. It's going to burn properly. It's just setting up your wood properly before you light it. And I won't have to really do anything now. I can just sit back and relax, and maybe in a half an hour I might have to move a few logs or something, but really that's all there is to it if you prep your fire properly. And I've got my poker here, so I can move things around if I need to. You should always have a shovel so you can put out a campfire if you need to, just by digging the soil around the campfire and just throwing it on there, it'll suffocate the fire. You should also always have water if you need to douse the fire. I've got tons of water. I've got 20 gallons of water right here, just right here. And I got a 25-gallon holding tank inside the RV too, fresh water. And I have 2 fire extinguishers inside. So, you know, out here though in the desert, you really don't have to worry about it. It's all, you know, sand and gravel. Nothing really can ignite out here. And even if something did, it wouldn't spread very far because there's just not thick vegetation in most areas. I'm right in the dry wash area, so this is the most vegetation you're going to see in the desert is in a dry wash area. I like that, you know. I like being in amongst the trees and the bushes and everything else instead of just being out, basically out in the more open areas out in the desert. So anyway, this is Eagle Eric. I hope you got some prepping ideas, how you should prepare for things as simple as cooking. Cooking and water is your 2 most important things, and a lot of people aren't doing it. You know, they're not thinking ahead of time. So anyway, this is Eagle Eric out in the Sonoran Desert, signing off.